Hi friends, welcome back to the Bible Project Daily Podcast. And here we are on episode 238, which is part 169 of our journey together, chapter by chapter, verse by verse, through this time, Genesis, but Lord willing, we hope the journey will take us through the entire Bible. And we're continuing our study in Genesis chapter 21 and asking the question, how can we keep peace? And looking at this interaction and the dealing of the issues between Abraham and Abimelech to see if they serve as a template that can help us live in peace in our daily lives. Now, there's a verse in the New Testament in the book of Romans which says this. It says, "As much as it be with you, be at peace with all people." I truly believe that one of the great signs of a mature Christian faith is if we are the type of person who tries always to seek the path of peace. We are told in Ephesians that the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, and other things, but also peace is mentioned in that list. Now, there are many aspects to the peace that Paul's talking about when he talks about the peace that we benefit as a fruit of the Spirit. There's the peace that we can have around us in our lives, and there is a peace, of course, that we can have within us. But most importantly, there is also, of course, the peace that we can have with God, because we know that the issue of our sin has been dealt with once and for all. In Colossians, Paul actually writes and says, "Let the peace of God rule in your heart." Now, the Greek word that was translated rule for us in modern English is a word that means let the peace of God be the umpire in your life. Let peace be the arbiter in your life. Therefore, what that tells me, if there's any tension between you or someone else or in any situation, let peace be the umpire. Now, this passage here in Genesis 21 indicates to me that both these men, Abraham and Abimelech, are seeking peace, and I believe that it can help us do the same. Now, we're going to probe a little bit first and ask what the alternative of living in peace looks like, and what the alternative approach to trying to avoid conflict might look like. Because it seems to me very often when there's a conflict between two people, one of them at heart feels wronged or hurt. I never cease to marvel at how often people often seek revenge and how often they want to see other people hurt. There was a very famous pop psychology book published in the 1970s called Hurt People, Hurt People. But I think that's rather true, because people often, rather than go after seeking peace in a situation where they've experienced conflict, they go out for punishment. The expression, "don't get mad, get even," springs to mind, doesn't it? Now, the people, particularly Christians, wouldn't often always express it like that. They would say things like, "I just want justice," or they would say, "I want them to feel how I feel." But you know what, friends? That's just another way of saying, "I want them to hurt the way I am hurting." Other phrases that are used is they'll say, "I want justice. I want my day in court. I want my pound of flesh," as Shakespeare wrote. Now, the downside of this attitude is that it leaves a feeling of resentment, and one that can grow and grow until it becomes something what the Bible calls angry, bitter resentment. So what that type of attitude ultimately does is make you miserable and angry. And that's no way to have an inner peace. And it's certainly not the way to have peace with other people, peace in your life. And most importantly, it's not the way, friends, to find peace with God. On the other hand, this passage suggests to me that we should practically seek peace, which may mean, on occasion, there should be some compromise. It may even mean a little humility needs to be shown on our part. But it can be worth it, because if we seek peace, the result of that can not only be peace between you and the other party involved, but it can be a real sense of peace within you also. And that's worth aiming for. Now, I think the first part of this message in Genesis chapter 1 is simply saying, in Genesis chapter 21, is simply saying that these two men genuinely recognize that they have differences between them, and they understand that they can't have them anymore if they truly desire to live in peace within the same location. But look at what happens in Genesis 25. On the surface, it may seem a little concerning, but let's see where it leads. Verses 25 and 26 of chapter 1 say, Then Abraham complained to Abimelech about a well of water that Abimelech's servants had seized. But Abimelech said, I don't know who has done this. You did not tell me. I heard about it only today. Doesn't that sound like a conversation between two people right here today in the 21st century? Abraham brings an accusation of how he feels wrongs, and Abimelech's reaction to that is, I've never heard about this until right now. I didn't even know about this, that this had happened until now. But there is a sense acknowledging here is that what we need to do if we're going to have peace is communicate with one another. As long as there are unresolved differences brewing, there's going to be a trouble between the two of them. And that tells me that if we want to resolve issues, we want to have fewer conflicts in our life, then any of these unresolved issues need to be addressed. You know, a peacemaker is someone who deals with things to bring peace. When Jesus said, Blessed are the peacemakers on the Sermon on the Mount, if we address that honestly, there has to be acknowledgement that part of being a peacemaker will always involve dealing with situations. And let me remind you, by the way, that works in marriage as well, and every other type of human relationship. We need to keep short accounts, as someone described it to me. We need to address the small issues as they arrive with grace and humility, because if we don't, they'll build up. And kicking the problem can down the road will not only cause trouble in the future, but it could be a trip hazard which could lead to a serious fall. One of the keys to having a peaceful relationship with other people, and this is about dealing with and clearing the air around the small issues before they become big issues. Now, for them, it will mean some very practical communication and some planning at what they need to do in the future. In fact, the example that is given here, I believe, can act as a template for us to how we too might practically avoid conflict, not only in our personal lives, but in our business and professional relationships as well. And isn't that a really good thing to have? But we'll do that, and we'll begin to unpack it more in the next episode if you join me back here tomorrow. A quick reminder that there's always a transcript of these podcasts available in the episode notes of any audio version of the podcast. But that's it for today. I hope to see you back here tomorrow on the Bible Project Daily Podcast. Bye-bye for now.